Hey friend, welcome to Milk and Honey with Lemon. The Bible says in Numbers 14:8, and if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. On this podcast, we talk about stepping into that overflow that God has for us by becoming those ultimate Proverbs 31 women. Hey, I'm Lemon. I am just like you, sister friend. I knew God had something more in store for me, but I couldn't see a way out of the laundry piles. And frankly, I resented that Proverbs 31 woman. How was I going to live up to the hype? That is until I found out how to really step into becoming this Proverbs 31 woman through leadership development. In this podcast, you're going to find financial freedom, leadership growth, and motivation so you'll be able to do all the things God has called you to do with ease and really step into that land of milk and honey. Welcome back to the Milk and Honey podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, and I'm so excited because I have Lori Templeton here. And I met Lori through Kelly Roach. You guys know she was on the show not that long ago. I was obsessed with Lori's story. She has been in the entrepreneur space since she was 12. It reminds me of my kids, right? So she noticed this demand when she would bag up tree shavings from our father's lawn and garden shop and then would sell them to customers. My kids actually went around a few years ago and they put sticks and all kinds of things on the neighbors' houses who had dogs as like a dog toy, and they left it as a sample. Lori and her husband have acquired 3 different businesses, grown them to multiple millions from years of business experience, buying, building, scaling, and selling companies, all while homeschooling her 4 kids. So that means you do not have an excuse, my friends. If she can do it, then literally anybody can do it. Now, Lori has her own company, Momprenista, which I am excited for. I'm going to let her talk a little bit about this, but she is really reclaiming what womanhood is in today's world for women of faith who want to build businesses and be the best mom, wife, entrepreneur, and leader they can be. She has over 20 years of experience. She's a ministry leader, a trauma-impacted nonprofit owner, and a former pageant girl. Thank you for being here, Lori.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and chat with y'all today.
I'm excited. I just love your story. So your dad had a lawn, he was an entrepreneur right then?
Yes. So my dad started a lawn and garden shop, and he used to have these things they would call chainsaw days or whatever. He would have people coming in doing the chainsaw carvings where they would turn some big log into a bear or an eagle. When they would use cedar, I would go and grab the cedar shavings. My granny did it. She would put this cedar in little sachets and put it in her drawers or her hutches and make things smell better, right? That's what you do in the South. And so I was like, hey, I've got all this free product here. I bet I could do something with it. Dad had extra bags from his parts department that he didn't use, and they were just little clear bags. So I didn't have to pay for my product, and I didn't have to pay for my packaging, and I didn't have to pay for my advertising because clients were coming to me. And just capitalized on everything. And you would think entrepreneurship would be so easy for someone that started out with a mindset like that, right? No, it's not. It has been a roller coaster ride. But yeah, that's where the bug bit me for entrepreneurship. I knew something was built into me at that point to try and solve these problems, to provide someone else with something of value. I was bitten by the entrepreneur bug and tried to figure it out from that point forward.
I love that you said that because when your parents are doing entrepreneurship, it impacts your kids so much. There was a series, I don't know if you've seen the Tuttle Twins series. We love them, but they have a whole thing on entrepreneurship and worksheets. My kids were figuring out their profit margins and all of those kind of fun. Nobody talked to me like this when I was 10 about profit margins and advertising and running a business. How cool that we get to have that conversation with our kids now.
Yeah. So we actually run an entrepreneurial model homeschool. And so that means that every semester our kids have to start a new business. If something's going really well, then they can stay in that business. My oldest is 12, and we've done everything from lemonade stands to whatever he can find to try and do a business with. Right now, he's found the world of affiliate marketing and selling digital products. Last year, we went into that world with him. And I was like, dude, you're learning this. This is you on your own. I think people look at things and they go, oh, affiliate marketing doesn't work. That's a scam. Or Mary Kay doesn't work. That's a scam. Or selling supplements doesn't work. That's a scam. Or trying to start your construction business doesn't work because it takes too much money. We nullify everything for ourselves when in actuality, the only thing that's not working in your equation is you. You have to figure that out. And so we talk ourselves out of something that's stirring in our hearts anyway. The truth is Mary Kay works, selling supplements works, affiliate marketing works, running construction companies works. It's just figuring out how to actually execute that in your life. And that's when it works. When you get it together, when you figure out, okay, God is leading me in this direction and this is where I'm supposed to go, that's when something works. He's doing this little affiliate marketing business. He's doing really well with it and he's very proud. So we've kept that around for a few semesters now and he's enjoying that. But it's really fun because they get that world. Like they have to make a marketing plan, they have to make a business plan, they have to understand what their finances look like and all of that.
I love that. If you guys homeschool, this is such a simple way to introduce math. They can be really creative with this. We did the same thing with baking all the time. That's how they learned measurement and all those things. It doesn't have to look like textbooks. And I think that's really beautiful. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. So I'm a baking nerd too, but I actually grind my own flour. We start with fresh whole grains, grind, and then bake. My kids are learning all that too, learning all the measurements. We have baking classes on Fridays and it's really fun. They get all those foundational things. And your entrepreneurial homeschool model can cover every subject. That's what's so fun. You get history, math, geography, science, language, art, like all the things in that one model you're doing. And you can tailor it to them. I love tailoring everything. I have a 12-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Obviously, the 2-year-old isn't running a business yet, but you can tailor everything to them. And it's so fun.
Okay. We are meant to be because we also have a giant garden. And we're doing winter wheat this year. As soon as like our crops are done we'll harvest like July, August-ish time, which has been really fun. My kids are learning about homesteading and agriculture, all of those kind of fun things. My in-laws have a farm, so they're always going out. We're working with horses. They're working with the pigs, the chicks. They're doing all of those kind of things too. I love that. And I love that you said everything works. My friend Bobby always says everything works, just not all the time. And I think it really is about like being passionate and aligned and going all in on the thing you're doing. And
Right.
so I love that you're starting these businesses. And affiliate marketing is cool right now. My 12-year-old started a store on Etsy doing drop shipping because he loved that. So I was like, whatever, that's fine. You also said you bought boring businesses. Can you talk about boring? Because I feel like nobody talks about buying boring businesses or how you even buy businesses, like any of those kind of things.
So I think the biggest thing is a lot of people think that you always have to start from scratch and that it takes tons of money to be able to walk out and buy a business. And that's not the case. You can get creative funding and you can make deals. You can structure deals where you don't even have to pay anything out of pocket to buy a business. That's more how we operate. We've got lots of years of experience under our belt. A lot of times what we end up doing is we find business owners who are just completely overwhelmed. This is where my passion is. We were created for a purpose. And so we have to figure out how we're walking in that purpose. And a lot of times people will just start a business because they're a plumber and they have that skill. And then all of a sudden you have this husband and wife and way over their heads and they traded a 9 to 5 for 24/7 and they just don't know what next steps to take. We are able to walk in there and help them level things out, help them put procedures in place. We add value to their business. We may not actually buy into that business. They may just give us a level of equity to help them scale their business so they can then operate, they can exit. And so they can exit. Exits look like that you just want to be able to take a vacation for 2 weeks and your business run without you. Or that you want to be able to go to Hawaii for a couple of months and your business run without you. Or that you want to actually operate at a board level all the time and you are not overseeing the day to day at all. You're just running the business from a board level. And that's typically how I operate in most of the businesses that I run right now. I have operators in place. I'm at a board level for the most part. My husband is still in the grind with one of our businesses, especially because we're taking it to an 8-figure mark. And we get to pick and choose that, which is deciding the direction that you want to go. You can design your destiny as long as it is cohesive with your divine design that God carved into you. We can look at a business and say, well, no, we don't really want to buy that business because it's going to take too much of our time because we've put in the forethought to figure that out. You can take a business, scale it, and then sell that business. There are people everywhere looking to buy businesses and people don't realize this. But then what happens is you're that plumber couple And now you're in your 60s thinking, what am I going to do? I've got grandkids now. I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. It's eaten everything up. So I'm going to sell my business. But you haven't actually structured things to be able to put things in place to flip that and to actually be able to sell it for a profit in accordance with the hard work that you've put in. People get pennies on the dollar for what they've actually put into their business over the years. We help them turn that around and help families take back their lives. You've traded that 9 to 5 for 24/7. Now, all of a sudden, you're up at 4 a.m. in the office trying to get stuff done so that you can make it to your kids' game at 5 o'clock. That's what we help people do. That's our passion. We want to restore families because I believe that God created us to be entrepreneurs. I think that is biblical. At the same time, I think we've been taught very wrong in the world in how to do that. That's our passion, is to be able to help do that. I took this experience and brought it to the online space a few years ago because my passion is to help moms see that they can do this. Maybe they don't have the right tools to execute what they're trying to execute. That's where my passion lies. I want to help you see your purpose. I want to help you step into it. And I want to help you actually be able to execute it. And you just might not have the right tools to be able to do it. And the truth is, it all works. It's just figuring out how it works for you.
I love that because I didn't even know buying businesses at this level was a thing until I saw people on TikTok talking about it. And then I had a friend, he was like, that's my passion. This is what I want to do. I want to buy businesses and operate at a board level. He introduced me to that website where people are always selling their businesses. And then it triggered something in my husband. He's been a truck driver for years after he got out of the military. Truck washes are really hard to come by. He was talking to a guy. I'm almost at a point where I have to legitimately keep it open 24 hours because we are so busy around the clock. This man was doing $1.5 to $2 million a year washing trucks. So the options are out there. You have to be open to receive them.
Yeah. And I think another thing a lot of people miss is like, they'll think, okay, and I'm just using a plumber because it's easy for most people to understand, but like I'm a plumber and so I need to start a plumbing business. No, not necessarily. What if you walk in and you're sourcing the plumbers with their policies and procedures, or you're sourcing the plumbers with their equipment and their tools, or you're sourcing, like you can buy upstream or downstream in a business to feed into something that you already know about. And that's another creative way to actually get into businesses. People go, I want to start a coffee shop. Maybe you don't need to start a coffee shop, but maybe you want to become the sourcer for a certain type of bean that is an luxury exclusive. And so now all of a sudden you're upping your game even more, serving people at a different level and not having the overhead of a shop that you're trying to make happen. And so there's all kinds of different ways to be able to look at entering how to your own business.
Okay, this is the most timely conversation because my best friend's getting married in 3 weeks. Florists have been an insane process for her, just getting some bud vases and flowers for her flower girl. It was almost $5,000 for 20 bud vases, where she was like, this is crazy. We should do this ourselves. She lives in New Jersey. I'm down here in Georgia. And we started looking into it. And because her sister-in-law has 20 acres that she's not using, I'm like, let's look into cut flower farming and all of these things. We start looking into it. And I hooked her up with the USDA. They're willing to put in geothermal greenhouses for them without costing anything for them. And she was like, we've been talking about this for a month and a half. But I didn't know this was an option when these grants exist and this exists. And we could do a lot of this without putting any of like our own real money necessarily into it.
Outside the box, there's so many opportunities that are present. And here's the deal is all you have to do is you have an idea, Google it, see if somebody's already doing it, contact that person and say, hey, tell me what you're doing, because people want to tell their stories. People naturally want to help other people. Find those people who've gone before you. And I will say that's one of the success points in my life, from leading my nonprofit ministry and growing it to impacting over 1 million people. Find someone who has gone before you, who has been successful, or maybe not that successful, but they've learned lessons and can share that with you. That way you have a direction to go in. It matters so much.
Yes, I love that you said this because I know somebody listening right now is probably, oh my goodness, if somebody else is doing it, then I can't do it. First of all, the market is ginormous. And when people are like, the market's oversaturated, I'm like, it's because you're surrounding yourself with only people who are doing what you're doing, which is why it feels oversaturated. If it's possible for them, then it's possible for you. I just saw Alex Hormozy said something like, The top 1% of people are just people who keep going when they don't see immediate results.
Exactly.
Because he was talking about podcasting, and he was like, if you want to be a top 1% podcast globally, all you have to do is produce 21 episodes. Most people never get past episode 20. And I knew that, but I was like, that is fascinating advice. Like, you just have to be willing to do work without seeing immediate results and being open to doing things differently and having conversations with people and being much more open. I'm so glad we ended up on this fun topic. This was not what we planned to talk about, y'all. I just got very excited about it. But I think it plays into what we did want to talk about, your code method and talking about calling and purpose and all those fun things. Can you explain your code method for us, my friend?
So that was the thing when I started figuring out what exactly it was that we were doing for business owners and how we were changing their lives and what things looked like. I was talking to some friends of mine and they would say, oh my gosh, you ask the right questions, the right strategies, you do the right things, like you cracked my code. And my husband commented on that. He said, that's what you do for people. You crack their code. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm an acronymaholic. So I sat down and I was like, all right, what do we do with this? As I transferred things to the online space, I wanted to create something for moms where they could unapologetically and authentically step into who they're created to be. And so it became the momprenista life. When I would go and speak at conferences, that's what would happen is people would walk up and they'd say, oh my gosh, you're like this super mom slash mompreneur slash fashionista all rolled up into one. Can you teach us how to do that? And I'm like, first of all, I look fashionista because I'm supposed to be up here in front of y'all. That's why I have on makeup. That's why my hair is on point. You don't see the yogurt in the hair and the sweatpants during the week. And so that's where momprenista came from. We just sandwiched all those words together. We kept the code method with that. And what that was, it's your calling and purpose first. Like you were created. Ephesians 2:10 says you were created for a purpose. When you dig back to the Hebrew, the words give the idea that something is literally carved into you so that you get to discover it and rise up into it. We want to help you discover that. Then we're born into an adulterated world. And unfortunately, our purpose just gets trampled on by well-meaning people who want to put us in different directions. And so we have to go back to that place and figure out who we were created to be and what the purpose was that carved into us, because it's a purpose for you that no one else can do. God created you. There's a 1 in 100 million chance that you are who you are. The right sperm had to meet the right egg at the right time for you to become you, right? And so you have a kingdom assigned purpose to your life. And there are other people waiting on you to step into your purpose so that they can actually step into theirs, so that their eternities can be impacted because of you. They need your story. They need to borrow courage from you. They need your help. They need you to solve the problem the way that you can do it. And that matters to their lives. And that's how you leave ripple effects of legacy. The C in code, that's calling and purpose, right? Then we have operations and systems. Not only are we looking at operations and systems in businesses, but we're looking at operations and systems in your home, because you have to run and manage your home like you run and manage a business. And the first time I realized that was several years ago. It was like this light bulb moment. When I started transferring and putting systems and procedures into my home, it eliminated so much chaos. It improved communication and relationships within my family. It matters so much to actually look at running things. And that way you're not reacting all the time, right? If we don't have a plan, if we don't have structure in place, all we're doing is reacting to something. And so then when you couple that with trying to start a business and run a business, oh my goodness, you're overwhelmed. You're on the hamster wheel. You're burning the candle at both ends. You're trying to figure out what to do. And all you're doing is reacting because you don't have structure in place. And so kids get sick. If you have 4 kids like I do, kid 1 gets sick. Then a few days later, kid 2 gets sick. Then a few days later, kid 3 gets sick. Then a few days later, kid 4 gets sick. And husband gets it. And I get it. And the babysitter gets it. So all of a sudden, you've lost 2.5 weeks worth of work for the sickness to work through everyone. But if you have a plan in place, then you can actually still be productive and not just be reacting to life. So whatever the situation is, right? And I call them high value tasks in business and in the home. And so like in my laundry room, I have a binder full of procedures on how to do laundry for what matters. I had to give on this a little bit. Like there was some pride in some things that God was like, Lori, honey, it does not matter that it's done that way, right? This doesn't matter. This over here does. And you can write a procedure for that. But this is pride. This is performance. So I will say it was a learning experience and a slopping off of self in a lot of ways for that. And so we put operations and systems in place in businesses and in homes. If you ignore the home, you won't be able to grow and scale to the level of which you could, right? If you ignore the business, same way, you won't be able to grow and scale to the level of which you could. And so then we have the D, which is your destiny, your destination, right? This is where we say you can design your destiny according to your divine design. If you don't have a plan, then you don't know where to go. And this is where our sync method comes in. We teach people how to properly plan their lives, because that is one of the things we're missing out on. Is we teach you how to actually take stock of everything in your life, look at the yoke of how it is on you, and then choose how you want to navigate that. And then you figure out your financial costs and your time costs. Planning this matters so much to your success in life. And then we have the execution, because so many people will learn the principles and they'll learn the systems and they'll learn the strategies, and they never execute because they don't know how to actually get that traction. They've got all the ideas in their head, but they don't know how to get that traction. So that's one of the things we focus on. We have a lot of done for you and done with you services. When you come to us, we're able to help you get that footing and teach you how to grow it. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves
on. Okay. I am obsessed with this. And we should just do a whole episode talking about this framework, but I know that it would turn into a 3-hour episode if I did it right now. But I love that you start with your calling and your purpose, because I think that is the thing that I find women especially struggle with the most, right? Like, it's my purpose to be a mom. It's my purpose a wife. It's my purpose. I don't feel totally fulfilled in all those things. And I always think our first purpose is to go and share the gospel, right? That's your first purpose. That's what Jesus said. That's the command we all have. But the way in which you do that, I think, looks different from everybody. I think that's where people get tripped up and stressed. I don't know if that's what, but I feel like that and the execution piece are like the two things I think people struggle with the most. I'm so glad we can laugh about this. But yeah, I mean, for you, is that where you see the biggest struggle? And then if so, how do you help people in finding your calling and your purpose? Because you said that is carved into you by the Father. So how do you find that or help people find that?
I think we have a lot of things where, if you ever have seen me talk or see me in a presentation, there's a few staple things that I say over and over again. I say it in a lot of the content I'm producing now as well, which is, if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. And then when you don't know it, you figure it out for yourself. And if you don't know it for yourself, then you don't really know anything. So until you've dug into something and researched it for yourself, you can't take what Aunt Sue handed down or Pastor Billy handed down. Like, you have to know it for you. A lot of times we see someone out there who's, hey, guess what? I made $1 million with this framework. And if you follow it, you can do it too. That might not fit into your lifestyle. That might not fit into the rhythms of your life in the season that you have right now. And the other thing is, they might have been a one-hit wonder. You don't know that. We haven't tested them. We haven't put them on a growth ramp, and we haven't figured out if they've actually met all the levels of scale. And so you have to actually go in and say, all right, Father, what is it that I am supposed to be doing in this life? Help me. One of the things that we do is we take people all the way back to when they were like that, especially women, right? Like this 3 or 4-year-old little girl, because psychologists and psychiatrists will tell you that around the 5-year mark is when things start to shift. Because up until then, you don't care what anybody else thinks. But at that mark, that's when you start caring about what other people think. If you can go back and look at what you did when you were 3 and 4, what stories do people tell you about your life at that point? I'll use me as an example. I was the center of attention. My aunts and uncles would visit, and I would grab my boombox and microphone. I would sing songs and entertain everybody. We did this thing called the penny march at church, and I'd walk up with my pennies and get on stage and say, now, before I put these pennies in, I want to tell you all a story. These are the stories my parents tell me about me. And I remember wanting to be that little entertainer. Now, I can fast to this point in my life, and I can say that I feel the most alive when I'm on a stage speaking and sharing information with other people. When I'm sharing something that I know is going to help transform someone else's life, that's when I feel the most alive. So I know that there was a bent in me for something to be able to share using my voice, using my passion to impact other people through my words and creating that with the Father, right? And so I understand that now. I never knew why that was. And here's the thing. Along the way, people would say, you just want to be a showboat. You just want to be the center of attention. Can't you just give someone else the spotlight for a while? It's not always all about you. Tons of this stuff coming at me. Here's the deal. God knew what he put in me far beyond the point that anyone had an opinion about it. He knew before anyone else knew that I was supposed to be the center of attention. He put that in me, right? And that's what matters, that God knew who I was supposed to be. And so I had to actually own that and step into it and care less about what everybody else in my life thought, right? Now, there is a level that I need to be honoring to my husband, right? There is a level that I don't need to be crazy and embarrassing, and I have to be relationally intelligent when I'm doing this, right? Like, you don't get to say, oh, this is how God made me, and I'm just going to say what I'm going to. No, that's not how this works. And I've got a friend she's a lawyer, and she'll go back and she'll say, I remember trying to argue both sides. I remember wanting to debate with people. I remember wanting to find solutions to things. There are things in your life that you can look at where you've ended up or where you even want to end up, right? And you can figure out how you got there and why you're supposed to be going on the path that you're supposed to be going on. That's one of the exercises that we do with people. We go back to that 3 or 4-year-old little girl and try to figure out what was in that little girl that needs to be grown up and brought to fruition and matured to a point where she gets to impact the kingdom the way that she's supposed to be impacting the kingdom and making ripple effects to leave a legacy for other people's lives.
I am obsessed with it. I don't know if you host workshops just doing that, because I could see that being something that you do wholeheartedly, because it is so important. I was taking notes. Did I do these things? I will 100% go back and listen to this again to really take in what you just said. I think it's beautiful. I took a biblical leadership class. One of the very first things she said is that you were born to lead, like God made you this way. The enemy also knew it and has an insidious plan to keep you from that truth. Even at 5, you start to care what other people think. So we start to suppress things about ourselves. Maybe Aunt Sally said, oh, that Lori, she's so loud, or you're a showboat, or any of that. And you start to internalize these things that are not true about you. What I think is beautiful about this whole thing is that when you agree with the lies the enemy has planted in you about yourself, you are directly disobeying. And it's a slap on the face to the Lord.
Yeah.
He created you. Your purpose was carved into you. It is a direct slap in the face to the creator and who he made you to be, and is saying that he got it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
This is so powerful. I'm so glad that I already emailed your team and told them that you have to come back, because we could be here for 3 more hours talking to her about this very topic. Lori, where can everybody go to find you, work with you, all those kind of fun things?
You can pretty much find me anywhere online under Momprenista Life. So just go there, and it's Momprenista. You can find me anywhere there. Try to keep everything consistent across profiles and all of your domains. That way it makes it easier for people to find you and what you're doing.
Yes. Okay. I love that. I just changed all of my stuff to my name, which was actually super hard to Google, because when you Google my name, you get the price of lemons at a local grocery store. If you guys ever Google me, that's where you'll find me. But I will link all of this in the show notes for you guys to go connect with Lori. I promise I will have her back to keep talking about this topic, because I think it's really important, especially now. I just keep thinking about the fact that you homeschool and how much the enemy is attacking this generation of children and just the things they experience. He's attacking purpose and identity so much. So, Lori, thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. I deeply appreciate you.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I am so excited to chat with you more. I love this.
I love it. Until next time, friends. Hey friend, what a joy it has been to share today's journey with you. If you found a spark of inspiration or a nugget of wisdom that resonated, would you bless someone else by sharing this episode with them? It could be the encouragement they need to step into their purpose and calling. Also, if you could spare a moment to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I really appreciate your feedback, and it really helps our community grow. Remember, the road to discovering God's call for you isn't one you have to walk alone. So join me again next Monday for another episode where we'll continue to explore the depths of leadership and the heights of our heavenly calling. Until then, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep trusting in His plan. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye, friend.